Welcome to The Great Girlfriends, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. We're your hosts. I'm Sibylla Moody.
And I am Brandis Daniel.
And we have a third host in the building today, the amazing Miss Tiffany Hardin.
Yay!
Woo-hoo! Welcome to the building, Tiffany.
Hello, hello.
How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Today's been a good day.
Yeah?
So far.
Good. What you got going on?
Actually, earlier today I had a little photo shoot for this book I'm going to be in called The Manifesto. It's really dope. So check it out. It's themanifesto.co, which is why I have makeup on.
And you look beautiful.
Thanks. So that's been good. I've been on calls and emails all day, but I really definitely wanted to be here for you guys because it almost fell off my calendar, but almost doesn't count.
How could you let us fall off?
Because I didn't get a calendar invite.
And you know what? For that, Brandis, you are fired.
And then I made you feel guilty.
I know.
On top of it.
Listen,
Right.
thank God for Uber, because Uber done flew me from home to Midtown.
But only your great girlfriend can do that. 'Cause
Only.
Brandis was
Only.
saying, I feel guilty. I made Tiffany feel bad. And she was like, but she does need to get in today. We need to get her in. And I was like, you did good, Brandis. You
She
did
did.
good. And
She
you
did.
got here like in God's speed.
Really quickly.
I said, let me do this right here. I was like, thank God I didn't have to do anything. I just had to
Yeah.
change clothes. So I was like,
Oh.
phew. I was out of here. But only for Brandis.
You did it for the yes, I love it for the love.
For the love.
So it's so funny. Great girlfriends, I feel very fortunate because I posted something on my Instagram a while ago about two women who I always call my sisters. And one of them is Sybil, and the other one has always been Tiffany Hardin, who is like my little sister, who I adore. And I'm going to tell a quick story about, like, what's your quick answer to how we met?
Oh. We met because I was working at an advertising agency, and she was living in Harlem, and I was like, oh, let's connect in Harlem, and we were hanging out with somebody else. I don't
even remember.
All right, because it doesn't matter. No, I'm just kidding. That person's very valuable, I'm sure. But something happened, and it was funny. And Brandis spit her water, and she spit on me. And I thought it was hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
I thought it was so funny. That doesn't mean everybody needs to be coming out spitting on me. But like, I just thought it was so funny. And I was like, you know what? That's my girl. Like, I'm gonna ride with you.
But what did I do to make up for spitting in your face?
She bought us some wet wipes.
She definitely sent me a little package, and it had like this little it had this little like what are they called?
Eye mask.
An eye mask. It had my name on it and everything.
Oh,
like
that's
it was
sweet.
funny.
Spit on me real quick and send me a package. Right here. Why don't you spit on
It was
me?
funny. But ever since then, like it's just been like that's my girl. That's my girl. And I feel like ever since then too, as we gotten closer, you know, we would call ourselves like working out together, and we would call ourselves. Well, we did work out together.
We worked out.
But also, you know, Brandis has always been like one step. So like she left her job right before when I was thinking about it. She's gone through the process and always was available to me to talk to about my thought process. So there have been times where she's pushed me off a ledge and times where she's brung me back. So, you know, it's like, not yet,
Good
not yet.
balance. Yeah.
Okay, go. So it's a good healthy balance for sure.
Love that.
Yay, we're excited to
I
have
love it.
Tiffany here.
Tiffany, give us your story in
Sure.
5 minutes.
Okay,
Born
sure.
and raised.
Born and raised.
Well, do we want to talk about the topic?
Oh yes, let's dive in. Yeah.
So we did Networking the Right Way, and that was like a really popular episode for us.
Yes.
And so we wanted to dig further into networking because I think that that's something that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah.
It doesn't come natural for people. And Tiffany is a master networker and
Absolutely.
relationship builder.
Absolutely.
And so we wanted her to have her come in and to speak on that topic. So
I'm happy to do so.
love it. So what do you do
so.
anyway?
So, right. By the way, who are you?
Who are you? Who are you?
So, I own my own company now, and I focus on influencer partnerships and strategic partnerships.
Company's
Especially,
named?
The company is named Gild Creative Group, and there's a meaning behind the name. To gild a lily is to place a thin layer of gold over something, something raw and something beautiful. And I feel like as I've progressed within talent management and working with influencers and also working with brands, what I'm doing is not creating beauty. I'm just helping it. I'm helping to showcase it. I'm helping to amplify it. I'm helping it to get to an audience to love and appreciate. The same way that I was able to see the raw beauty in something, I'm hoping that other people are able to do so as well. So it's about being a good steward in that regard. But as far as my history goes, so I went to college in Chicago, at Columbia College Chicago, and I studied music business, which for a lot of people are like, you know, during that time in like 2000, from 2003 to 2007, it was like, music business, what are you talking about? And there's a college that offers that. Like, it was very weird and random. But I was watching a TV show, I Want to Work for Diddy, and I always knew I wanted to be in music. I always thought I was going to be a singer, or I was going to write, or, I mean, you couldn't tell me nothing. I thought I was going to be Babyface and Clive Davis. Like, you couldn't tell me nothing. And so when my parents were like, oh, you're going to go to college, I'm like, I don't need to do that. No. And my mom started crying. It was the whole thing. I was like, okay, fine. But if I'm going to go to school, I'm going to do something that I want to do. And so I found this school. I was living in Wisconsin at the time, and Chicago was just a hop, skip, and jump away. So I found this school that I loved, and it was in a big city, and I studied music business, and I got to, later on in my college career, I got to work with a guy named John Monopoly, who actually gave me my first introduction into the music business by working with his company, Hustle Period Management, which at the time was working with acts like Knowledge and Kanye West and Consequence and all these hip-hop artists. And when I was about to graduate, I told him, you know, look, I want to graduate with a job. Like, I'm really trying to do that. Like most students that are interning, they're like, okay, now what? You know, and randomly, I was networking. I was the president of student programming board at my school, and there was a girl who mentioned, we wanted to do this program, and there was a girl who mentioned Mona Scott as one of the people that we may want to bring to the school to speak. And I didn't really know much about her, but I started looking her up, and I was like, oh my God, I love her. She's amazing. She's the president of Violator Management, and you know, they represent Busta Rhymes and Missy Elliott and like all these people. And come to find out, the guy I was interning for, he worked with Violator. And so I told him, I want to bring this woman here to the school to speak. If he didn't do anything for me, he did that. Because he introduced me to Mona, and she came to speak, and he told her that I was interested in working with her. And she asked me, you know, why do you want to work in the music business? And I was like, well, I can't stay in Chicago. Nothing happens here in that regard. So, you know, a little bit later, like, she basically hired me. So she hired me straight out of school, actually in the middle of my senior year. So I moved to New York City in 2007, in January 2007. And it was definitely like baptism by fire. Like, there was no like, oh, here's your practice period, and here's what you get to learn. So I started working for her as an assistant while she was the president of Violator. And in the midst of that, that's when she decided to leave Violator and start her own company. And this is why she was focused on TV and programming, things like that. Because most people now know her as the producer for Love and Hip Hop. But I've always known her as the manager for Missy Elliott and Busta Rhymes, and someone who's taught me almost everything that I know. So after I started working for her for about a year and a half, I started working for Translation, which is an advertising agency. And that happened simply, honestly, by me being connected with my coworkers. And there was a woman that was like, there's this thing that you might be good for, and she was like, it's not really my thing, but you would probably be good for it. It's this guy, Steve Stout. And I was like, I didn't really know who Steve Stout was in a real way. I mean, I was 21. I was just focused on like getting health care, you know. I was focused on like, you know, I was like, sure, I'll go for it, whatever. And that's how it happened. The woman that referred me was Sylvia Roan's old assistant. So I went to work for Translation under Steve Stout as his assistant, and I was there for a couple years. Always knowing that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, always knowing that I wanted more, and he was able to help facilitate my growth there in terms of like moving me from being an assistant to working in new business, and then moving from being a new business account executive to being in the influencer partnerships section of the social strategy department. So that's where I really got to grow in a major way. And then in 2012 is when I was like, you know what, I'm good, I get it. And I'm starting my own company. And actually in 2011, I started my own company. In 2012 is when I
took the So
took
you
the
were,
lead.
you were literally 1 year after me.
Yeah, I went and flipped her. I told you guys. I was like, she did it first, and then I did it. Like, you're a little me too. Little Miss Me Too.
But you talked about through that story, there were so many connection points, right? It was like the first person you interned with connected you with Mona. Like your relationship with Mona connected you with somebody who was on the job. Like there's been all of these connections. And the thing that I admire about you is that you're able to build these like meaningful relationships. How, like, did that come natural for you? Did you know how to do that at 21 years old?
I think it's always come natural to me. You know what's funny is that, speaking of connections, I started working for Steve, and then he said, oh, did Mona ever tell you that she was the first person that I went to be a partner with me in this company? So my old boss was being vetted. Basically, like, Steve wanted her to be his partner, and I never knew that. And I thought, how funny is, and when Steve wants something, I mean, he wants something. So like, everybody was calling her, everybody, it was a whole thing, and I never knew that, and she never told me that until I went back and said, how come you never told me? But, those types of connections, like, Steve never actually interviewed me. He just saw my resume and said, okay, you.
Probably because he saw you work for Mona.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, there are things and connections that are being made that you're not even conscious of.
Right.
You're not even conscious of. And it's just how people perceive you and presenting well. So to your question, like, I never really thought like, oh, I'm a good networker. Excuse me. That's never been something that you're really taught when you're younger. I feel like now that we're in an age where personal branding and social networking is a big thing, now it's like front of everybody's mind. But like, I would say, like, even from my personality is such that I'm curious. So I'm curious about people naturally, and that sort of turns into, oh, I know a little bit of something about you. Did you know that same thing that you like, that person likes too? Like, y'all should talk. Y'all probably should talk.
And that's exactly what you do.
And that's exactly what I do. And I've always done it. I met my best friend just from being curious, like in high school. I probably offended her because I thought she was a sophomore and I was a junior. And she's like, I'm a junior. So like, I probably offended her, but at the same time, I was curious to know who she was. Yeah. And that started our relationship. And I mean, she wouldn't be the first person I've offended just being curious, but that's what starts, I think, relationships. And I don't think I was actually like aware I was networking until I was in college, like later on in college. Because when you're in college, and especially if you're going to school for music business, like, your whole job is like, get a job, and as early as possible so that you can keep it moving, because you know how niche it is. You know how like everybody, and that's the joke in my school. It's an art school. It's a private art school. So like, people have been working other jobs, nothing that they went to school for, and your fear is, I don't want to be like that. I want to be something else. And you do all of these things just to get to something else, because you're not like, I've never waited tables in my life. I have no intentions of doing that. There's nothing wrong with that. But I knew in college, like, that wasn't what I'm here for. That's not what I want to do, So part of your networking has been setting a very clear intention. Totally. Yeah. Very clear intention. And sometimes it's like, you might be in a room and it's like, I don't know anybody in here. Like, I don't know, not a soul. But quite frankly, I moved to New York not knowing a soul. I moved to Chicago not knowing a soul. I would move to Wisconsin not knowing a soul. So like, for me, it's been about adapting. Like, if I can get myself to feel comfortable wherever I am, then I'll meet somebody wherever I am. You know what I mean? So you step into a room, which you've stepped into a lot of rooms, where you don't know a soul. What's your first step? I look at a lot. I look and observe. I like, what do they call it? Survey the scene. Like, I look at the room, I look at the people, whether it's a small room or a big room, and I think to myself, how I read people. Like, read their body language, read how they're interacting with other people. I think to myself, is there anything about that person that I identify with? And if I'm like, oh, I really like, she seems like somebody that I would like she seems like a good personality or something. Like, is there anything that I can, especially if I'm looking to connect with people, like to your point about setting the intention, if I'm looking to say, oh, I need to find someone to be cool with. Like, you know, I have to be able to look at the room and say, okay, like who's kind of like approachable, and who's somebody that like probably sees the world similar to me, and that's where I start. And then,
what are the exterior qualities that make you know that?
The way somebody smiles, the way somebody's body language is, their outfit, their clothing, you know. It's also the way, there are some people that just genuinely have a good energy. Like, I know this is getting a little too like biochemistry, but like when people say, oh, your heart radiates, it genuinely does. The reason why people put pacers in their heart is because your heart is a magnet, and it sends electromagnetic signals. So I genuinely can feel energy and feel vibes, and I have a God-given gift of discernment. So like, I genuinely feel when someone is being real, like, and I'm attracted to real because nothing real can be threatened. So if I come up to you,
tweetable moment, stop, pause.
No, but that is
like
so
say
good.
that again, please.
well, it came from this guy named Tara Singh, but nothing real can be threatened. And when I heard that, I was like, I immediately like it got to my heart because I was like, that is so real, and that's why my real friends and the people that I choose to put around me, like, it doesn't matter how high up in the clouds you are in terms of your career, it doesn't matter whatever, you can genuinely say, I'm proud of you, or I think you're going the way you're going, and da-da-da. And that's why we have the relationship we have, Brandon, is because it's like, nothing real can be threatened. There's nothing that you can do, there's nothing that I can do that is gonna make you feel like you're less of something, because that's just, you're real, real, you know? And I feel like everybody in this world is searching for something real. Yeah. And, you know, you have it in bits and pieces sometimes, but like, and even in yourself, you're like searching for something real within yourself. And I felt like even in networking too, like your closest relationships and your closest connections are always coming from people that are real. You know, like you may get a one-off something, but like, even you were telling me about a deal that you were getting, and you're like, we were supposed to talk about this, and we ended up talking about all this other stuff. And it was like, because it's real. Because it's real. And then you can talk about the business and stuff.
Right.
You know? It doesn't always happen like that. You know, there are some people that are just like, what are we talking about? What's going on? What are we doing? But there are some people that are curious and they're genuine, and they're like, you know what? I see something in you that I identify with, and I want to know more. And even if we're not best friends, I just need to know that if I call you, we're connected.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right. I remember that meeting. I talked about that on one of the episodes too. That guy I met with about sponsorship, and he was an entrepreneur who had gone back into the work. He had gone back to work for the agency. And he and I sat there for like 10, 15 minutes just talking about entrepreneurship, you know, before we ever talked about anything business. So absolutely, love it.
So how do you get yourself in the room?
My connections.
Like, how do you, so a lot of our girlfriends, you know, one, say they hate networking. They think it's just, you know, cliche to network. And for you, it's just about building relationships in the ways that you do it. And that's just one way. But a lot of people don't even know where to go. Like, how would they start if they wanted to build these relationships? A lot of people are at ground zero in terms of like, how do I even like, Mona was obviously great leverage for great relationships in music business. So like,
how do you start?
But a lot of people be like, okay, Tiffany, you just had luck. You were just fortunate. How do you get in the room with people to be able to start?
I think there's a level of vulnerability that comes along with networking. And when you're younger, it's easier to be vulnerable because people, quite frankly, take pity on you. They're like, oh, you're just starting, you don't know anything. You're like, oh my God,
true.
baby, come
You want to help the baby.
you know, so I definitely took advantage of that when I was younger, and I see myself doing that for other people now. But I think like if you're sort of like doing a career transition and you're changing it up or whatever, you know, you can't let go of being vulnerable. One thing that I've learned, especially from being around Brandis and a few other people, is that, you know, you have to be vulnerable around people that you trust, right? So like, if you have a group of friends and you're like, man, you know, like I really want to do this, I want to do this project, I need sponsors for that, like, what do I do? Or like, you know, anything could happen. And it's like, I need a connection. The same way you would ask somebody who's a good dentist is the same way you would ask somebody, who do you know? Like, and the people that are in your circle, you know, it might not go from, you know, 1 to 10, but it might be 1 to 3, 1 to 7, 1 to 10. But you have to have the patience to know, okay, I'll get there. But I have to work with people and put myself out there, which is a part of being vulnerable. Put myself out there so that I can at least get to 10. And also hearing and feeling the signs. Like for example, Troy Carter is somebody that is a career mentor that I just like love to death. He managed Lady Gaga, been in the music business, working in Silicon Valley, has his own management company, has his own fund to help invest in other ventures. He's funded a lot of ventures that we use all the time, and I was talking about him randomly, and then I was in San Francisco this past week, literally, and ran into him, and we knew each other from working with translation, and ran into him, hugged, hey, how you doing? Oh my gosh, it's been a long time. Oh my gosh, I'm working on a startup company right now, which Kwaku, one of the girls, Sybil's husband, is working with me with. And, I was on the plane and I was telling him, he's like, email me, I was telling him about it. Yesterday, literally, I get an email from Mabu, and so Hennessy's doing this toast to him, and invited us, and I was like, that's so weird. But in my head, I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta go. I just saw him earlier that 3 days ago. I told him I wanted to hang out with him again. I gotta go. And a part of that is being present. So part of networking is
Is it in San Francisco?
No, it's here in New York.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So I see him in San Francisco. I come back home. I get this invite. He's in New York. It's a toast to him. I'm like, I gotta go.
Be there.
Right.
Because I'm out of town this weekend, and then I go back to San Francisco next week. So in my head, I'm like, I gotta go. And I feel like that's it's reading the signs. It's I could not go, and that's fine too. What's yours is yours. Nobody can take that away from you. But in my head, I'm like, okay, there's a reason why. And I need to follow the path. I need to follow the white rabbit, as they say, and just be there and just show up and be present, because I feel like when God's trying to connect you to somebody or do something, He's gonna set little seeds for you and be like, I'm gonna just need you to show up.
Yeah.
I'm just all you need to do is just walk in the room or just show up, and then the rest will take care of itself, because I trust you and I trust that person. I've already put you on the path.
Yeah.
So just show up. If you don't show up to the path, we'll find another path. But that path may take another year, may take another 2 years, may take another month, no one knows the time frames. Because like I said, what's yours is yours. You're gonna get there.
Preach, girl.
I'll
send an offering. We'll forward it to Tiffany for that.
I love that. That is hilarious.
Preach, girl. Tiffany, we know that you've got to hop on one of your power calls very quickly. So we're going to keep the conversation going in a few minutes, but we just want to thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The bridge that you created, even between Brandis and, like you said, my husband, and now you're sitting here on our show platform, and we got to go to She Knows Now.
Oh, that's huge.
Oh,
you have not mentioned one thing about your baby, and it's a pretty baby too. But
it's so pretty.
Give us 30 seconds on your baby.
Sure. So She Knows Now is a digital archive for women who are sharing insight on what they know for sure. So the genesis of this came about when I realized, the same way I was inspired to go to school and watching, I want to work for Diddy, is the same way other people are inspired. They see something, they think, oh man, that's something I can do, and then they go for it. And I felt like in this generation, in this era of young women and people in general, we're scrolling a lot. And so somewhere between selfies and pictures of your Jordans, maybe there's a little bit of inspiration you can get, and a little curiosity that you can start to nurture. Somebody says something that you like, you kind of wonder, who said that? What are they about? You go to their page, maybe there's somebody that is not just of interest in terms of what they say, but in terms of their career or the way they live their life, and maybe that can set you on a path to maybe find a mentor or find somebody or do something that is what that person does. It can genuinely be the inspiration for inspiration, and it's all around the hero's journey, which is something that Joseph Campbell is a philosopher of. And the hero's journey is about being able to hear the call of your purpose and of your life, and being able to actually fulfill that call, which will have trials, will have tribulations, but the point is that you can go on several hero's journeys, but the point is that you have to be able to have the courage to do so. And sometimes it takes just a little bit of inspiration for you to be able to do that. So She Knows Now is really harnessed in that thought that it just takes a little bit of push, a little bit of effort, a little bit of inspiration, but anything that we can do to help, especially young women of color, but young women in general, know that there are other women that are in the world that are not on TV, that are doing amazing things for culture at large, for women at large, for business at large. You too can do that, and that is something to look forward to and look up to.
And what's the web address?
The web address is www.shenowsnow.com. SHE knows KNOWS now NOW.com. And if you want to know more about me, you can go to tiffanyhardin.com or visit my website, my company website, which is gildcreativegroup.com. GILD, the word creative, CREATIVE, group, GROUP.com.
Yes, and we'll make sure we share all of her contact info in the show notes as
absolutely.
well. So, Tiffany, thank you.
Thank you.
Not only has she been a great girlfriend, but now she's here sharing her networking tips with all of us. And you gave me some things to think about. Even what She Knows Now, I'm sitting here thinking she's even doing more, like furthering that mission even more by creating this platform, an opportunity for women to tap into her resources that would never be able to get them. So she just gave free proximity. That's what I consider that.
And she does.
That proximity, and that's what people, a lot of times people need the proximity. She just gave it out for free. Like, that was like charity.
Thank you.
That was a gift. It really was a gift.
You.
That platform is a gift. The women who are pouring into it is a gift. And then you sharing it with women all around the world who are like, I can't reach this person. I don't know this person. And you've just made it possible.
There's somewhere to start. And I think as we end, when we talk about networking, I want to leave your peeps with your great girlfriends. Just like 3 words of wisdom. You know, you got to be yourself. You have to have the opportunity to be vulnerable, and you have to be intentional. You know, you have to. Oh, the 4th thing. I told somebody else this. Know what role you need somebody to play in your life. You know, that's so important, because sometimes you can go out and network and you meet a whole bunch of people and it means nothing, and it can mean absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So be intentional. Know what role you need to avoid, or what role you need somebody to fill in your life or in your project or whatever the case may be. And you know, don't be afraid to use your own network. Don't think that because your mom is your mom that she don't know nobody. You know, I'm just saying.
Women know people too, right?
Absolutely. I love what you said. Know what you want, like what role you want people to fit. I literally just had this conversation with my interns this morning. I was like, people can give you opportunities, but you have to fill in the gaps.
Yep.
Like, I can say, hey, here's an internship with the HFR, here's all the experience, here's all my resources, but I can't take you from 1 to 10. Like you were saying, I might be able to take you from 1 to 3 or 1 to 5, but you have to fill in the rest of that.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
it's
so
so
intense,
true.
so real, so real. And if I had to have a moment too, because I think there was a point in my career where I was like, why isn't so and so helping me? Why isn't so and so doing this? Why is it? And 2 things happened. One is I realized, well, I got here because I got here. So it's not like I needed somebody else to help me to fulfill for me what I needed to do. Because it's like, no one helped you up to here. So why are you looking for someone to just open this magic door to serve you this golden platter, you know? And there was another point when I became an entrepreneur where I called you up, Brandis, and I was hot. I was upset. I was mad as a monk. But Brenda said something so spectacular. She said, well, how do they know? Like, how do they know that you need them to help? Like, it's almost as if even my network, it was like, well, don't they know that I need this? Well, don't they know that I need that? And it was like, well, did you tell them that you needed that or you needed this? How are they supposed to know that?
They're supposed to read it, right?
Yeah. You know, and it's like literally saying to your network, like, I need this.
Yeah.
If you have this or that, give me that, you know? And, you know, part of networking isn't just to have a Rolodex, it's to be able to ask people things when you need them.
Yeah.
And I think the conversation when I took from that conversation with you and I was am I being fair to my network? And I'd asked myself that, and I was like, you know what? I wasn't. I expected you, because you're my network and you're my friend, I expected you to just know what I needed and to help me with that. And that wasn't fair, because I didn't actually express that. And so I had to go back and ask myself, okay, am I leveraging my network the way that I need to be?
Right.
Whether you're my friend or not, am I actually doing that work and setting it up so if somebody could just say, yep, I can do that, press play, turn key, you made it happen, you know, or am I just sort of like, here's my mess and can you help me clean it up?
Woo!
And I had to like,
It's getting hot in here. It is getting hot in here. I'm so serious. Oh my goodness.
but when you have great girlfriends around,
Here's my mess.
here's my mess, can you clean it up?
Can you clean this up for me? Can you use your network, your resource to clean up my mess that I didn't take good care of when I had it? Isn't that something?
Oh.
It happens
Yikes.
all the time.
Yes, it does.
And you have to sort of like just be a witness to yourself and be like, ooh, yeah, I did that. Because people do it to you all the time, and you could see it. You're like, ooh, somebody did that to me. And sometimes you clean it up, sometimes you don't. But when you're that person, it's like, let me be clear, you know. But you know, having a great girlfriend like Brandis, it's like being able to be that mad and upset and like try and figure it out and try and get into somebody else's head, and for her to just be like, well, what's going on? Like, why do you feel this way? Why do you think someone else should be feeling a way?
Right.
Like, and just being able to get your thoughts together, like that is the vulnerability part of a great girlfriend. You have to be able to say, this is where I'm at. For a great girlfriend to say, okay, I see you, I feel you, woo woo woo, but but here we go. You know, this is what we need to think about. Change and shift the perspective of the conversation.
Tiffany, I can't tell you how many years it's been since I heard woo woo woo.
I know.
Woo woo woo. But that is so
It's
true.
real. It's so
Because
real.
you have to be able to wipe those tears, clean up that mess, and keep it moving.
Yeah.
I have people, interns now, who I have connected with 3, I'm talking about top-notch people, right? And they're still crying because they don't have a job. And I'm like, baby, I can't fill in the gaps for you.
Yeah.
I can't put the thing in your lap. I can't shove it down your throat either. I can only walk you to it. What you do with it is after you. What you do to follow up? Did you send cupcakes? Did you send a Did you send an eye mask?
Say thank you.
Did you say thank
Is your
you?
resume a hot mess?
Did
or
you
is
eat
it
spit in their
ready?
face? Exactly.
Icebreaker.
But you know what? Even I remember that episode, and Tiffany don't know this, but I was so embarrassed that I had spit on her. I was so, because we didn't know each other well. I was so embarrassed. And I was like, oh my God. And for me, Tiffany represented this agency for the sponsor that I wanted.
Yes.
At the time, because we weren't friends
I remember.
then.
Yes.
And I remember thinking, what can I do to make this up? Like, what can I do to like lighten this up? And I was like, I'm gonna get her an eye mask and I'm gonna personalize it. And I was like, you know what? Because I would love that. I would laugh at that. You know what I mean? And I was like, I need to do something that will just lighten this moment up.
Yeah.
Because I have literally just spit water in this chick's face, and I don't even know her that well. And so it's, I think every instance in every situation gives us an opportunity to go over and beyond to build a connection.
Yep.
Because if we never had a connection before, after that, we were going to have a connection.
Yeah.
Like, it just was what it was.
Yeah.
I'm the one who spit in her face. And, you know, and then she got this eye mask after, and that's our story to tell.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I love it. It's our story.
Absolutely.
And that's been through marriages, babies, boyfriends, could-be boyfriends, workouts, all of that. Guys, I gotta go.
Oh,
but I'm
we
so
love
happy.
you so much,
know.
Tiff.
I'm so happy that this is
Yes.
so much fun. Yes.
Oh my
So
God.
much fun. Oh,
You made it. This is phenomenal. And I actually got to learn so much more about you than I knew from the start, and much more that I adore even more. Okay,
Yay,
so
thank you.
we're gonna close out. I think we're done. I don't think we need to do any more. I think Tiffany has done us justice.
I think she has. I mean, I really do. I think she talked about what to do when you walk in a room and you don't know anyone.
Yes.
She talked about her follow-up. And one thing Tiffany did not mention, though, was we talked about her being liberal with her resources, but one thing she's amazing at is connecting people. So when you're really stingy with your resources and you don't want to connect people, it really holds you back, because the moment you connect two people and they have synergy, guess what? You're always the person that connected them.
Right. Absolutely.
So but that's something she does effortlessly. Brandis, you have to meet this person. I have to get you guys a breakfast together, because I'm telling you, if you guys meet, you will absolutely connect.
Yeah.
And I've even learned something from that. So now I do it all the time. If I see two people, I'm like, they have to connect.
Yeah.
So that's Tiffany's awesome.
Tiffany's
That's
great.
true. And the only reason why I do it like that is really just because I get so excited about people. I gotta be honest. It's not always strategic. It's just, I just get excited. And I'm like, ooh, you like cake? They like cake.
Yes, yes.
It's that childish.
No, I understand. I'm equally as thrilled when I see like people that could have synergy. I'm like, ooh, y'all gotta connect.
Exactly.
Even if it's just a cake conversation, it'll be the best cake conversation you ever had, because you two both love cake.
Yeah.
So,
And the next thing
that's
you know,
it.
they set up a date to go find the new cake place.
Hello. it might build something out of it. You just never know how it's gonna go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but no, it's been brilliant. And the other thing that I thought was so rich about what she said is that intention part. Because you need to know what you're doing when you do it. I say this all the time. You have to be very intentional around everything. Sometimes you're going to just casually fall into some great things, but even that, just deciding that when a casual moment comes, you'll embrace it casually and not try to dive in with a business card and a resume. Sometimes a casual moment just calls for a great laugh and some spit in the face, right?
Right.
And then it ends up being something else. But even being intentional to say, whatever moment comes my way, I'm going to make the most out of it, whatever it's supposed to be. And I'm not going to
Absolutely.
always farm it for a job or for more money or for a husband. I'm going to network just so I can genuinely connect with a person.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be intentional about connecting with that person at a core place. And then whatever spirals from there,
Let it spiral.
spirals. Because I can say without doubt, every time I've done that, the spiral has been so rewarding. I mean, we're sitting in a spiral right now.
We are.
We're sitting in the middle of our spiral, but even like meeting my roommate and being able to network with him and connect with him some, and then he introduced me to my husband, and my husband and I networking with people and creating different business ventures and things like that. And it's all just been from being intentional about just that.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
exactly why we're here right now.
Yeah.
You know, I met Kristen. She was the first person to show up at the brunch that I threw, a Harlem brunch. We stayed in touch.
Yeah.
And it was an intentional stay in touch, and she invited me out to something, and I showed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we met. So
Yes. I don't even know when we met. I don't know what made us say, let's get in. I think we just organically
You were
kept,
from Memphis,
like,
that's it.
Yeah, but that's not enough all the time now. You know that.
It's not enough all the time,
It's a good
but
start
it's a
point.
good start.
But I also think like we had so much ambition in common, and like we both we're on a quest for this harmony in work and life and love and all these things, and doing it in New York and having God at the center of it. But just think about all of the other organic connections that came even out of that.
Yep, absolutely.
So like Kristen talked about having a tree with strong branches in terms of business and the evolution of like her career. But what about doing that from like a friendship place?
Absolutely.
How those branches just spiral out. We got Keith, we got Raj, you got
Carl.
Carl.
Yep.
And I mean, we could probably go on and on and on about people, Terry, like all these different people.
Who've come from.
Yes, some branches on our tree.
Yeah.
Oh, you my little networking boo. You my little boo.
But I think a good lesson is be generous.
Be generous.
Be
Yeah.
generous.
Yeah.
Introduce people freely.
Yep.
Be willing to connect people freely. Don't feel like you have to hold that person back because that's your person.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, always be generous.
Yeah.
Because honestly, that is probably one of the biggest forms of networking. Even if you're 19, 20 years old and you think, what do I have to offer people? You know what? You have professors and you can introduce them to other people.
Absolutely.
You can always make
You
yourself
have
useful.
a fresh perspective because you're so young and energetic.
Absolutely.
Yes, and look, 19-year-olds can do things that we can't do.
Oh, yes.
Energy-wise.
Lord Jesus, yes.
So there's just always something that you can bring, and if you know that, if you've decided that you're always added value, wherever you go, you're gonna continue to do it.
Yeah.
That's true. All right.
All right.
Well, we would like to, first of all, you know what? We do this wrong every time. I'm going to stop today and say, we don't thank God first.
We don't.
And
Just
we
like
come
Rich
from the
said.
church.
What did he say that time? He said our shower.
Right. Thanksgiving, honor to
Ah,
God.
thank you,
The head
Lord.
on- No, but honestly, we thank you because, I mean, God is the center of everything we do. So we're going to do that first.
Absolutely.
And then from there, we'll thank these husbands.
Thank you, babe.
Yes, thank you, Kwaku, and our families and the kids.
And our great girlfriends who hold us down and support us constantly.
Yes, thank you for trusting us as your go-to source for everything life, love, and laughter.
You can listen on our website, iTunes, Stitcher, Blueberry,
Remember to check us out on Instagram,
The Great Girlfriends,
Facebook,
The Great Girlfriends,
Twitter,
_Great GFS.
and please tell all your friends to visit our website at www.thegreatgirlfriends.com.
yes, and post your questions, share with your friends, keep listening, and keep being a great girlfriend.
And I'm Sybil.
And I'm Brandis.
We're signing off.
Bye, girls.